In a historic move, Kenyan President William Ruto and Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and Burkina Faso President Ibrahim Traoré are leading a bold new Pan-African project that could change the continent forever. Their plan includes a single African currency called Afro Money, with a central bank split between Kenya and Somalia. But that's not all. Africans will soon travel visa-free across all member countries, creating a truly united continent. A new African passport has already leaked online, showing a stunning design that proudly displays each country's name. The project is gaining massive support.
I want to start off by a quote that I saw on social media yesterday. It said, "Poor countries are not underdeveloped, they are overexploited." And I want to, yes. And I want to make an addition to that. We allow it. We allow the overexploitation of our country. We allow the Anglo-Americans, the big companies, to extract our minerals and export them and sell it back to us at higher prices. In fact, we dine with them at gala dinners and say, please come, increase investment, take our resources, to give people peace jobs as miners underground and other jobs that don't really change people's lives materially. And so it's important for economic policy to stop that process of allowing our people to be overexploited. We need to take the accountability to say, how are we going to craft policy that is going to ensure that our people benefit from every resource that this country has to offer?
We seriously need an interrogation of the management of the African Union. Today, we cannot even support Somalia. We are waiting for EU to give us $85 million. $85 million. You know, we cannot fund it as EU. It is stupid. I mean,
my brother,
it is madness. So are you telling me 54 countries, 60 years after independence, they cannot manage 85 million to sort out Somalia, which has no government? Eh? Let me.
I just want to ask him, sorry, I want to ask you a question. He's my brother, but we need to talk frankly. How many African countries did not pay their dues this year? Please tell us. Don't name, but tell us how many. How many countries did not pay
their contribution?
The contribution this year?
The majority paid.
Majority paid. This is the answer of a diplomat.
Yeah, let us not put Musa in trouble.
No, but these are facts. It's not. I mean, I'm not naming countries. I'm saying African countries do not respect their own union. If you don't respect your own union, nobody respects you. Full stop. And then, the same guys who don't pay their contribution, they go to this international meeting and say, oh, African sovereignty, African solution for African problems, Africa this, Africa that. Come on, guys. What is this? We need to be credible. If we believe we have an African Union, we need to have an African voice. We need to do it. My understanding is your operational budget, my brother, is really paid by the European Union. This is a fact. This is a public knowledge. It's not secret or whatever. We are not paying for our own operational budget for the African Union. We are not. And then we said, okay, we're going to have a standing army under the African Union, and we want to talk to Europeans with big arguments about, oh, we don't give arms, we don't. Ukraine changed all that. Now, Europeans are willing to give arms if needed. And we say to them, instead of sending troops, come and arm this Africa Standing Force. That solve your problem, solve our problem, and you guys don't like Wagner. That's the way not to get Wagner. Our boys go and do the fight, but we need the helicopters, we need.
Let me say this more.
Yeah.
Let me say this to save our faith.
Yeah.
That that
You
yes,
started this, not
yes,
me.
Yes. We have a challenge, and the positive thing is that there is a realization that it cannot continue this way.
What you going to do? How to going to fix the African Union?
It cannot continue this way.
How are you going to fix it?
We have what it takes to fix it. And the conversation is already begun on what do we realistically do to be able to get the African Union to take charge of the affairs of our continent. Let me give you a case in point. We decided, for example, that we are going to assemble our market using the Africa Continental Free Trade Area market.
Yes, that's good
ecosystem.
Yeah.
And the positive thing is that it was unbelievable at the rate at which we were able to achieve consensus and we were able to achieve ratification. And I want to tell you, it is among the things that happened in the shortest time possible. It tells you there is greater realization that unless we act in concert, unless we act together, we are unlikely to make any impact anywhere.
How many African presidents are on board?
We have, at least on the market issue, we have put that together. There is a debate that is going to evolve. Like, for example, we have also decided that it will not going to be business as usual. We have these meetings, Africa, US meeting, Africa, Europe, Africa, Turkey, Africa,
India.
Now we are waiting for, there is another one, Africa, Russia.
And Africa, Japan.
And Africa, Japan. We have made the decision that it is not intelligent for 54 of us to go and sit before one gentleman from another place. And I mean, and sometimes we are mistreated.
Yeah.
You know, we are loaded into buses like school kids. You know, and it's not right.
Well, you are summoned. You know,
it's not right. So the decision that we have made as AU is that going forward, if there is going to be a discussion between Africa and any other country, we are going to be represented by the chair, the outgoing chair, the bureau. Let's
chair of the commission or the chair
and the chair of the Rex, and we have 5 Rex. That should be sufficient for, I mean, a meeting of maybe 6, 7. Yeah. That should be able to represent Africa, and that is the position I am taking as the president of Kenya. For any other meeting that we are going to have with all these requests that we have a meeting between Africa and one other country. We respect the sovereignty of others. I think to ask for reciprocation is not to ask for too much.
No.
And for us to agree that let us have this kind of setup. The only, because I had a conversation with President Kagame, and he actually led that particular position. I have had a conversation with Prime Minister Abiy. He believes very strongly that that should be the position of our continent. Because, as you have said, if we don't respect ourselves, nobody is going to respect us. And we should be able to take that kind of decision. Yeah. And part of that respecting ourselves is when we say African problems, African solutions. We must be serious about the solutions. It cannot be rhetoric. It cannot be talk. It must be accompanied by what realistically and practically we are doing.
And what is our capacity? Yeah.
This is a blueprint. This is a blueprint to African rising because the world have been looking down towards Africa. The world have been looking down towards Africa. And just like they took Africa as a classroom which was expected to be taught, to be developed, to be told and directed to anything they have to do. But today, the narrative is changing, whereby now Africa is no longer a classroom, but a student, a genius student or a teacher who has to make his own decision, make their own way of life, and do their own things without depending on some people or listening to other voices to come and guide them. This is how the rising of Africa is now trembling the world, and some of the part of the world are wondering how things like this are coming out of Africa, and we have to agree about this. So today, many countries or many parts of the world have been growing through the struggle, through the dominance of Africa, exploiting and manipulating, which caused or resulted to great and many damages towards African countries, which up to date many are still traumatized because of all they experienced, all they passed through. Many African world countries, they build up themselves through the African sweat, through the African richness, while leaving Africans themselves in a poor situation in a way that they can't even save themselves. Now, what is happening? The Africa have awakened up. The Africa have awakened up, and the youths are going on the streets struggling, not just fighting, but speaking their voice, not just speaking their voice, but reclaiming what they believe it belongs to them.
The youth of Africa are saying that they want Africa. The youth of Africa are saying that we want the resources to benefit us. The youth of Africa are saying that the resources of Africa belongs to Africa and it should be able to benefit Africa.
Now, the countries like, when I give example of the country like Rwanda, these are one of the countries which have grown or developed through they have been taking their struggles or their suffering as a lesson to make them stronger and learn to do all they have to do to make them develop. The country like Rwanda developed through after genocides, whereby now they decided that they want to stand by themselves. They want to make erase the history of all that happened towards their people and try to and start to rewrite another history that we call the end of an era. And this was a new era. So today, Africa is showing a good example. Africa is showing a good example. That's why you see the continent that was looked down, and it's now the same continent that the world is coming towards it. The world is coming and need more help from the same continent that was looked down.
Europeans are doomed. They are privatizing healthcare and no one seems to care. Spain, Italy, France, UK, Romania, Poland, Hungary, Portugal. In Spain, they've started dismantling one of the best public healthcare systems in the world. And they call it modernization, but it's privatization. In Italy, hospitals are collapsing under deliberate underfunding, pushing people toward private clinics.
Mostly, lessons from community over individualism. In Africa, the word Ubuntu means I am because we are. I am because we are, which while much of the Western world has built progress on individualism, Africa is reminding humanity that survival and success are collective. So in Kenya, community saving groups, group sustain families. We started to speak when we came to start about talking about the rising of Africa and all that some of the African countries are doing in order to develop, in order to resist from the foreign policies, from foreign powers, the white supremacists. We started to see this happen in reality in the countries of Sahel, in West African countries, where we saw several countries came to resist from the Western powers, and they decided that they want to do things on their own in an African way. And this was led by the African leaders who believed in the sovereignty, in unity, and independent. This here we talk about the leaders like Ibrahim Traore, whom today the world is still speaking about him. The world and many people still, when you speak about the unity of Africa, the independence and freedom, these are the first leaders to be mentioned because of what they tried to show the world, what they tried to show to Africa, and what they tried to show to the Africans, that if we can stand by ourselves and if we can sacrifice ourselves and make sure and decide that this is what we want to take, it can't take us long. No one can limit us, because we have a reason to do this. We have every a tool that can make us to be who we are. So the people started to speak about them. The people start to hype their name. That's why today we see many people are hyping the military governments, despite having many democratic leaders or democratic governors in Africa. So why are they choosing to do this? They are choosing to hype or celebrate the military leaders because of what they have tried to experience from these leaders doing their countries. Now today, we all know that military leaders are not a good solution or is not best for the people or for the country. But again, the same people whom call themselves democratic leaders, the same people who preached democracy in Africa are the same people who are using this democracy to manipulate their own people. These are the same people who are using democracy to sell out their country's future, their country's richness. So I can say that the democratic leaders of Africa are the reason which today the people of Africa are celebrating or hyping the names of the military leaders, because the Africans, most of them, we were born and find Africa being led under the democratic way. We were born and find ourselves, the African countries being led through the democratic leaders who make us believe that only development can come through the democracies. Only development and anything we want from Africa or change or anything for us as common people to develop is only when we believe in democracy. But again, all these countries that are under democracies, we see this happening each and every time any country in Africa held their elections. There must be violence, chaos. People kill each other, fightings, which result in a lot of damages in the communities, which results in many deaths. So if democracy is a better option or is the only way for us to go, then I don't think if people would have been coming out to fight during the election seasons, but people would have been coming out. They practice their democratic way to elect their leaders and celebrate their victories without any chaos or violence. But because the people in Africa, mostly, we experience this, that if every time the country or any country in Africa hold election, there must be violence. Why? Because you find that the person who is the choice of the people, the person who is a choice of the majority, is not the person who accesses this position. It's not this person that can be able to get this seat or position to lead these people. That's why you find that people, anger rises in people. You find that people are coming out they demand their rights to vote. They demand to get the person that they have been fighting for or craving for. But again, the system gives the person that is not the choice to the people. That's the reasons why chaos arises, fight, and everything which cause to deaths, destruction, and many more things which cause problems in African countries. So the world today have to run to learn. When we say that this is a blueprint that the world today have to learn much through from the African rising, it's because of what recently we have experienced in African land. Because today, this generation is totally different from the past generation, where the people were just there living a life of other people making the decision for them to live. But today, what's happening? The people are fighting to get what they want. The people are raising up their voice to demand what they feel is good for them. The countries which have been living under under a dictatorship, they are now rising. And today, every country in Africa are fighting to be equal. Because, for example, in the country of Kenya, this is the country that started. The youth or Gen Z started to arise and did something that was never expected or experienced anywhere in the world, occupying the parliament. And later from that time, we started to experience many countries, Gen Zs arising, going to fight against the government, which is not listening to their voice, not delivering to them, not doing anything that can help them, not fighting for their future, for their life, but just there selling up everything that the youth could have used. So, and the people who came to do this demonstration after Kenya, what happened? Most of them achieved their dreams. Most of them managed to send out the existing regimes and get the best leadership they wanted or they were fighting for. And now, every country today the youth are trying to follow the footsteps of those who have tried and succeeded. Now, this is just a threat. We as Africans, we celebrate this because we feel like it's an achievement. But the rest of the world, like empires, the developed countries, the first world countries, they are seeing this as a threat because they never expected this to happen. And they were trying so hard, they were trying to limit this so hard not to happen because they know the outcome of this. They know the results from these incidents. They know that if they can allow something to happen, which is happening today, then they are going to lose their dominance, they are going to lose their power, they are going to lose their access and get to get all that they have been used to get in Africa. That's why they have been trying so hard to make sure that Africans never wake up, Africans don't unite, Africa don't come to know the truth. That's why you see all the leaders, all the African leaders for the past years who have been trying to come out to fight for the truth, to expose the truth, to speak the truth to the people, to awaken Africans, they were all taken down because they would have not been left to make Africans or the other Africans to know the truth, because the truth will have come to bring a problem to the empires and the people who are dominating Africa, controlling Africa, and accessing to loot African resources. Africa, over decades, over centuries, has been looted, has been destroyed, manipulated, but still the African dream never died. African spirits never died, and that's why you see, even up to date, a lot of things is coming up from Africa. A lot of youths who are coming with the great inventions, who are coming out with the great things that's being experienced, which the world cannot allow it to be exposed. I can give you an example of the Zimbabwean guy, the Zimbabwean youth who came up with an invention of a self-charged car and other electronic like TVs, and which only use frequencies but don't need electric or batteries or fuel. And this brought a lot of impact to his life, which resulted him to flee from the country that he was in West and come back to his country because even his life was in danger. As he went to present his project, it was declined because they would have not allowed this something like this to be exposed to the world. This was a threat to the companies which produce these electric gadgets and everything. Even to the fuel companies, they would have not allowed something like this to happen. But again, we always say that when the right time comes, nothing can be stopped. When the right time comes, nothing can be stopped. And this is the time that we are feeling like now it's the right time for the Africans, for the black people. When the Africans awake, they unite across the world. The African from America, from diaspora, from Africa, they gather their knowledge together. Then from this, we are going to experience something big coming to happen. That's when we say that African dream or spirit never died, but it's just waking up. It's just... Until next time, we come and do the same. Thank you very much for being here each and every time we come and do and speak about African continent and all that is coming out of Africa, which when we sit down and watch as it is happening, then we feel like something is happening, something great, which was prophesied by the founders of Africa who are trying so hard to fight for the African unity, African freedom and independence. We feel like their dreams or their fight or their death was not in vain, but what they were prophesying, what they were trying to speak about is what we are experiencing today happening in the country, in the continent of Africa. So I can say that the world have to pay attention to the African continent because this is just the beginning. We are expecting more and much to come. The generation is here to achieve and complete our ancestors' dream of African unity and African development. Until next time, come to the same. Thank you very much for being here, and be blessed reaching from, and don't stop coming back each and every time.
A chant for African unity by this group of individuals who say they are alarmed at the escalation of tension in Burkina Faso. The country's military ruler, Ibrahim Traoré, who has deferred Burkina Faso's transition back to democracy, has come under fresh military attacks in the last few days.